Hello, we're at the Windsor pub on the Old Kent Road in South London. This is the very first working class question time. Welcome to the first ever working class question time. We're in the Windsor pub on Old Kent Road. My name's John, and I've got Martin, JJ, Sharon, Asen and Andy. Here are our panel. And without any further ado, has anybody got any question from the audience for our panel? Yes.
Given the popularity of working class soap operas on television, how come there's no actually real working class people on television?
Okay, so why aren't there real working class people on TV? I'll start over here with Martin. 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Yeah.
Martian minutes, hopefully. It's taken a long time to explain this, but the reason there are no, or virtually no, working class people on the television, except actors depicting them as villains and so forth, and undesirable types, is because we have been edged out of everything. Entertainment, the media, the arts, politics, anything you care to mention. Even though we're the majority of the population, we have been edged out by the middle classes. It's all a part of the process of gentrification. That's why you don't see us on the television.
Brilliant, thank you very much. JJ?
Yeah, well, I have to go along with Martin. I think they want what we have and always have wanted what we've got, and I don't think it will ever change. Yeah, I just go along with Martin on that one.
Can I ask what you mean by they want what we've got?
Because we're cool and edgy. They always want what we've got.
Fair enough. Sharon?
Well, I think it's kind of like why we're doing this class war specific question time today, isn't it? Because like it's all the knobs that you know are running it. It's like David Dimbleby himself, as Ian was explaining the other day. Like you know, he comes from a right toffee nose background. And yeah, and all of the ones in the BBC, you know, like and top of journalism are the same cunts.
I think we are in the era that they are trying to diminish the working class because they know working class people how real we are and how great we are, and that's why they don't want us to be seen on TV, because they knew that many people are going to follow that reality. They just only show in the film, in the soap opera.
Andy?
Yeah, once again we find that working class people, if you're gobby at school you get put in detention, if you're upper class you get put in the drama club. So that is how it happens. It's installed at a really early age.
Thank you very much. I think that point about the real, the BBC question time is really important, isn't it? Because that's why we're all here, to redress the balance. Whenever you have working class voices in the audience at question time, they then immediately go to the panel who are from establishment backgrounds, and they just tell everybody how to think and how to feel, which is obviously wrong. Have we got another question from the audience, please? Who's next?
Making a political party.
Beg your pardon?
Becoming a political party in election.
Becoming a political party, that's what she is.
Oh, right, okay.
We're not a political party, no. We're anarchists. Does anybody want to explain that?
Yes, I agree, power to the people, but in the voting...
It's supposed to be a democracy. We could have they have their far left and everything, whatever they call their far right and everything. Why couldn't we?
But I mean, politically we are against the voting and parliamentary system, and that's why we don't want to become a party, because we are already against that kind of establishment in this capitalist system.
So we know there is no real democracy, like through parliament, etc.
Because Labour is not a working class,
I did have a go, but I only got 65 votes. Yes. Gentleman in the green top.
Yeah. what is Class War's reaction to what is going on the street with the DLA, the DFLA, and old Tommy Robinson fucking sure, really?
Can we start this way this time, Andy?
The thingy. Thank you. Well, holding up the special law book that I brought along today, which is tells you how much you get in jail for annoying judges, we find that Tommy has taken a bit of a dive because he has deliberately provoked the court system to make up some claims about freedom of speech when in fact he's actually in favour of hatred towards not only migrants to this country but to the working class in general, that he's using as a vehicle for his own political ambitions.
That is where we've got to fight from. That's the root. Like, if you're going to fight for the cause, then go to the root, and that's where it is, on the street.
Yes, I agree, but one of the things we need to realize that, you know, that this fascism, the far right, is growing. Unfortunately, it's not just in here, but it's all over the Europe. So we need to think about it, you know, we already know what is causing, because they specifically using this immigration, refugees, our jobs. And that's the way they get working class behind them. And we need to be more aware and more on the street, fighting back with those people.
Yeah, I totally agree with Jason. It is getting dangerous. I didn't turn up at that last anti-fash thing because they've been such a pathetic turnout. You know, it was a nice sunny day, to be honest, and I couldn't be asked to go to the West End, and I really regretted it because it was a far bigger turnout than I was expecting it.
Yeah.
JJ?
Yes, we've been down this road before many times, haven't we? I don't know how we're going to get the kids off their fucking Xboxes, to be honest, because a lot of young people are on their Xboxes and smoking weed, you know. How do we reach them? I don't know. It's going to take something, though, isn't it? Something's going to give, because it can't continue like this.
But that's where our support has got to come from.
Yeah.
It's not going to come from anywhere, it's going to come from the street.
Yeah.
And if our streets are being dominated by the right, then that person, how many tax votes have we got?
Yeah. It's yeah.
And as the man in the green jumper was also saying, about the attack on disabled people, that were just, you're a scrounging bastard, people being attacked in their wheelchairs, being left in the freezing cold bus stops by bus drivers, when it's actually the right thing, the law, that a pushchair has to come off and they get priority. We all know what's going on with benefits and people killing themselves over it. It's such an attack on disabled people.
And I think,
sorry, go on.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are so caught up with their own shit, like universal credit and being sanctioned and just surviving. I think, we used to, in the 70s and 80s, you'd get a lot more working class people out on the streets fighting, but nowadays they're living in fear, and it really pisses me off, actually.
It's not fear, it's just apathy.
Apathy?
Well, you can't blame them to a degree, though, you've done a long shift. And my visa's down the visa. I just want to have a pocket fight at the end of the ship.
Yeah.
It's those that are willing to step up.
Yeah.
Martin, I'm wondering in your answer if you could address the issue of freedom of speech, because that's one of the things.
No. I'll say something different from what everybody said here. First of all, I'm not with Owen Jones, the Left and the Labour Party and the Liberals celebrating the fact that Tommy Robinson is in prison. I couldn't care less that he's in prison, but I think it sets a bad precedent for the rest of us, because today it's him, tomorrow it could be us, particularly since we are prone, as activists and anarchists, to demonstrate outside and inside courts to raise awareness injustice, and also to support our comrades that are on trial. So I don't welcome, I see at the thin end of the wedge. Also confronting these people, they do have to be confronted. Some of them are hardcore fascists, there's no doubt about that. But at the same time, as with the Tommy Robinson free speech rally, there was a lot of very confused people there. So, and most of them were working class. And I think that we have to confront them with more than fist and boot. We have to go amongst them and argue. It might end up with a punch-up, but we have to be there and argue with them. I've got no interest in standing behind barriers protected by the police with the anti-Nazis and so forth, who are not capable anymore of putting up a physical fight, and just yell as they're surrounded by hundreds of police. Police protect the fascists. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. So this whole thing has opened a can of worms. The political system here is disintegrating, and yet at the same time it holds on. It's rotten. It's like a zombified mummy, if you like, or something like that. And there's a wide, vast, open space there for political opportunists like Tommy Robinson. We should be appealing to these these people, but we're not. And it's people like Tommy Robinson who are, and he's the one that's being listened to at the moment because he's got the easy solutions.
So the political system's a mess, which kind of leads on to another good question, which is Jeremy Corbyn still the new Messiah? JJ.
No.
Why not?
No. He's too weak. There's nothing there. There isn't. He's nice. He's probably a really nice man, but he's not a leader or someone who can inspire you. I don't know what it's about. I just don't get it. Sorry.
I mean, the establishment view is that Labour shifted well to the left, and therefore presumably people are suggesting that this helps the working class in some way. Are you saying that Jeremy Corbyn doesn't help the working class?
No, he doesn't speak the same language at all.
I know lots of young people that are anarchists in their heart, and join the Labour Party, because they were holding out some hope. I told them that was wrong, and I think they are starting to learn it themselves. That there's not ever going to be any change by those things. Even if he isn't, nicer than Tony Blair or whatever, he's done nothing about social housing, as we know. We know that it's Labour councils that are selling off our council homes, and no.
But he does make a lot of jam. Yeah.
Is it my?
Yeah, go for it.
The first, I don't believe the parliamentary system. I don't care if it's Jeremy Corbyn or if it's the Conservative Party. I don't care because I don't vote and I don't believe it. That is the first instinct. And secondly, when we look at the Jeremy Corbyn, and unfortunately, and I've been trying to get him to condemn specifically on Icebury Estate, 19 years ago, to just condemn this social cleansing. He didn't. He was backbenchers then, let's not forget. And Labour Party aiming middle class people. They are not working towards the working class people, and that's the reason 22 borough in London facing social cleansing by so-called Labour Party. If anybody calls that the momentum or the left people, and I see those people as a barricade, what we are trying to do, and they are stopping us. They are not working with us towards the aim what we want to do.
I can't believe that no one else on the panel has said this before. He's not the Messiah, he's a very naughty boy. And it's a really sad fact that every generation has to learn once again that the Labour Party will sell out the working class. Yeah. There is now 100+ years of evidence on this, and it happens again and again and again. And it gets worse each time. the people that when I was growing up I thought were in the Labour Party, leaders like Wilson and Callaghan, who had sold us all out, had an 80% tax rate on the rich and a 98% tax rate on unearned earnings. And you look at what Corbyn is suggesting, and he's radical socialist chancellor of McDonald, and it's nowhere near what people like Kinnock were advocating back in the 80s. They are worse than they ever were, and it needs to be rammed home to people that they will continue to get worse as they employ more and more people with less and less working class background in the Labour Party. At least in the past, there were actually some people in the Labour Party who had prominent positions who'd actually worked in their lives. But now you can go from being a student through for the rest of your career without having any real contact with the working class, and that is disgusting.
Yes.
One of the policies of John McDonnell is to give people shares where they work, which just sounds like one of the most Thatcherite things I can imagine, where you actually get shares in the company that you work for. It's not really a socialist idea, I don't think.
Yeah, well, I've seen those messiahs come and go. There's two competing messiahs, and they both got songs. One is Jeremy Corbyn, I won't bother to repeat the song, and the other one actually, it might be taken out of context and put up somewhere, right? As will the other one of the Tommy Robinson song, another load of politics revolving around a cult-like figure. No, I got no time for the Labour Party, or any other party, come to think of it.
No party.
The Labour Party supports the system 100%. It's monarchist, it's hierarchical, just about anything you care to imagine. Basically, the Labour Party is appealing to a very large section of the middle class, which in this country are abnormally large. The metropolitan middle class. They're the people that support Labour. They're the ones that the policies are gauged towards. Union membership, for example, over 50% of them are professional people. These are the people that Corbyn represents us. He does not represent the working class, people on the estates, people on low wages, the 10 million people that have got less than 100 quid in the bank. He doesn't represent us at all. No. The only people that can represent us is ourselves, and the only way to do that is to break out of this party, political, electoral system, take direct action, seize the time and seize the power and seize everything else, because it's not going to be given to us by Jeremy Corbyn or anybody else.
Seize the lot. Just out of interest, is there anybody here tempted to kind of support Corbyn and vote Corbyn?
Definitely silence.
Definitely silence. This problem is not only in this area, maybe like in Manchester or whatever. Instead of it, we should all get together and make a practice. The working class or whatever, make a practice, because it's not only here. We could, a lot of people are not happy with Labour, whatever. It would take a while, but at least we could go around and tell him what Labour is doing for the working class, for what's the conservative. That has nothing to do with that. But I mean, we should fight, we should get together with other balance for everything and make our share.
Solidarity with each other.
I mean, yes, I agree. We should fight, but I mean, the approach is, the fight is different. You are saying that let's set up a party. What we are saying, let's do direct action, take back the city, squat the lot, and then force them to change something, because we are fighting back to them. That's what we need to do. Take back the streets everywhere.
Close. Oh.
Power to the people, if anybody doesn't agree with me.
Do we, just moving on, do we have another question from the audience? Yeah.
What's Class War's view on Pride, the Gay Liberation March being owned by Barclays Bank?
Gay liberation owned by Barclays Bank. Any views?
Yeah, I'll have a go.
Well, you know,
I mean, basically,
it's the corporations have taken over everything. Like, but
Yes.
I'm furious about this one because you know, Lambeth Country Show, you know, has been a free, beautiful event that I've been going to for donkey's years, you know, like, and now they're putting up big fences and we're going to be searched on the second way in, like, you know, like for booze and all that, instead of bringing our own lovely picnics.
Well, that's what happened with Pride, isn't it?
I mean, what I can say that, you know, they were not supporting, you know, the years ago, when the gay pride became a forceful to the whole society, you know, the loss of people, and it's just, you know, the recognized, and they say, you know, okay, let's get our share from it, and then I don't like the idea that they are sponsoring it. It should belong to the gay pride people, and they should organize
and
it.
our parks should be public spaces.
Yes.
And tell them to fuck off.
Yeah.
I think it's also part of a very much wider issue that all campaigns can be recouped. Capitalism can take on any legitimate protest for people who are from a minority and try to subvert it. And in particular, what they always want to do is split that kind of campaign from the overall class struggle. And the really important thing about not just Pride, but all manner of other things that are being labelled as ID politics, is that they are fundamental parts of the class struggle overall, that we all need to work together on, and it's not something that can be split off into little groups. And that's the thing we've got to keep in mind, is that if we want to actually achieve liberation for the working class as a whole, we have to incorporate those struggles in the working class struggle itself.
Yes, absolutely.
Without a gay pride event, though, there wouldn't be an opportunity for police officers to propose to other police officers. That seems to be the only place it happens, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to hit it?
Go for it.
I will then. Well, yeah, I agree with a lot of what Andy says. What's happened is that gay liberation, abortion, gay marriage, gay marriage, stuff like that, is now completely acceptable. Conservative governments bring it in. What's happening is that people's sexuality is being sold back to them, repackaged, and it's all now part of capitalism. You're all right. If you're gay, you can have a mortgage, you can be married, you can adopt children, you know. Well, if that's what you want to do, do it. But I thought that being gay was a bit better than that, actually, than being a respectable member of the community and voting Labour or Conservative during the general election. I thought gay had some sort of subversive connotation to it and was in fact more fun, but what we're getting is sterility everywhere. Every kind of minor deviation, anything that's completely off the norm is now completely acceptable and is sold back to us. While capitalism is getting socially liberal, economically, it's vicious and nasty, and you can see that by the amount of people that are sleeping out on the streets, and people that are homeless, millions of people that have got nothing in the bank, have got absolutely no future whatsoever, with a disintegrated National Health Service, transportation, education, the whole lot's just going to bits. But it's all right if they have social liberalism, apparently.
Yes, that's it. They want to sanitise everything, don't they?
Yeah.
It's all being sanitised, it's all being gentrified, and it's all controlled. Even like old festivals now. Even with festivals, you know, it's the same.
We walk where we like. Class war, eh? Class war.
Okay, I think you had a question, Ian.
On social housing.
Only the fundamental questions like why aren't the painters revolting? Obviously the records out, JJ, the inquiry side of the day, 71 people murdered by a mix of feudalism and the South Kent Hospital. centre there, there will be respect, you know, for the market dignity, asylum, and it's really difficult to imagine that would have happened 10, 20 years ago. So the fundamental question we all need to ask is why the fuck are the punters revolting?
Why aren't the punters revolting, JJ?
Why aren't they revolting? Because they're being fed bile off the TV, like they're all glued to television. I don't know. I don't know why they're not fucking revolting.
Well, I'd say most punters I know in this pub, for instance, don't vote. And they come to the same conclusion.
No, revolting. Revolting, not voting.
Revolting.
Oh, revolting!
Can I just ask, JJ, because you lived in
revolting.
You lived in Grenfell.
I stayed there, yeah.
You stayed there. How long ago? That was a long time ago, right?
It was early 80s, yeah.
Early 80s. So can you, I mean, obviously, you know, after the fire, what did you think about that, having lived there?
What did I think about it? I was horrified, obviously. In fact, I could see it from Clapham Common. I was out on the Common that morning. You could actually see the smoke from Clapham Common. And I felt traumatised by it. I felt like, I don't know, it was a moment in time that had just gone. It was gone. It was just, I don't know, I don't really want to talk about that.
Okay.
I find it a bit traumatic actually still, and I think that is the the thing with the, like you were saying about they want the silent march. I think it's because the whole community's been traumatised and they're coming to terms with it. I think they're still coming to terms with it, and there's lots of stuff going on anyway under the surface that people don't know about.
Well, that can explain why people aren't revolting on that particular issue.
That's why.
Well, people are not revolting about anything anyway.
Yeah.
Never mind Grenfell Tower. Look at the Windrush thing. Look at the street homelessness. A whole litany of things. You could sit here all night, and there is no revolt against it. There's no uprising. I do not regard Labour and Corbyn as any kind of reaction against it. They are part of the problem.
Yeah.
So I think basically, at least we've got as far as recognising step one that we have a real problem here, particularly in Britain.
We've still got a fucking royal family for one.
Well, why? Yeah, but
That
why?
solves everything, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, and why isn't there? Why wasn't there a sort of subversion of the royal wedding like there used to be years ago? One should answer these questions. Is everybody just accepting it? And if so, why? And more importantly, what is the way out of this situation? How can we change it about? How can we get the people out on the streets and to take meaningful action and to go beyond the very limited and restricted bounds that we have now?
How come you can get ladies of Europe out on the street at the drop of a hat? Like you look at May Day here and you look with envy at everything else going on in Europe. You know, it's not that far over to fucking Paris and they go fucking mental. And we're sat here just
In shadows.
just sort of people marching from A to B, and sort of hundreds of posters of those men with beards that died 200 years ago. You know, I mean, and then everybody goes home. I mean, there's no fucking point to it, but everybody's going white across the holiday. You know, it's just fucking annoying.
It seems to me that
why aren't we doing it? Why do we have to look with envy? Why aren't we doing it?
it seems to me that it's got worse as well since Corbyn's come along, but that just might be the way I look at it.
It has, and everything, all those questions just bring back us to to what's going on in the social cleansing. It's not just in London, but it's in general. So Grenfell is the last straw, and then those murderers, they openly kill people because they are working class people, and then year on there is no one responsible. It's just I cannot even find a word to describe it.
Yeah.
But it's all alone, it's happening, and the more we keep quiet and having silent march is not gonna help us. We need to shout. We need to get back what is belong to us, and then to tell them, fuck off from here. This is our community. this is our place, that's where we intend to live. But to be able to do this, we all have to take the street and do direct action. Nothing else works in this country.
Yeah.
Andy?
Absolutely right. There's nothing like direct action. The problem, as I see it from, is that the working class community is cowed, partly by indoctrination, but also a particular subject of mine is, to quote another Robinson first line from his song, the British police are the best in the world. And what they're best at is the really cunning strategy of surveilling everyone, of infiltrating radical movements, of having CCTV everywhere, and they have been incredibly successful. If you look at the August 2011 riots, they managed to convict 5,000 people across the country.
Yes.
And sorry?
It was allowed to happen, that riot was allowed to happen.
There are a lot of internal reasons in the police. One, they want more money for the public order department, so they encourage riots from time to time, but they do it on their own terms. And there are hierarchical battles between the frontline cops, who just like beating people, the heads of the public order department, who like having a bigger budget, and the police chiefs, who want a wider remit. And that is an ongoing battle. But what the effect has been on why we aren't having the actual riots that you get in all proper countries is because the British police are fucking good. And you've got to admit that. And then we need better strategy thinking about how we do things. And I saw Owen Jones put up, we're going to have an A to B march to completely nowhere the other day against the Trump visit. Well, great. If anyone kicks off on that, they're going to be stuffed. And you won't see Owen Jones at Marylebone Magistrates on the Monday afterwards trying to help those people out.
No.
Because there's no fucking backup for people who've actually done stuff. And as has been said again and again, it's that small amount of people who are willing to kick it off and take the risks that drive everything forward. They do not respect million Muppet marches like we had against the Iraq War in 2003, where a total of 8 people were arrested, and because of only 8 people were arrested, 147 people from Britain at least got killed in Iraq, plus the hundreds of thousands of Iraqis, because we didn't have a fucking go on the day. And that is the lesson to tell people. Have a go, because actually in the long run it's far better to have a crack now than put up with the shit that you're going to get later when you get burnt alive so that they can clear out the working class from London.
Well, I think we could definitely tell that this wasn't the BBC's question time with some of those answers, couldn't we? I think David Dimbleby would have wet his wife once, to be honest. But I want to kind of move on to talk about a community around here. Has the old Elephant and Castle been lost forever? Ace?
Not yet. No, not yet, and we are still fighting, but they've been trying very hard. That is one of the things, the people is the community, is what we value. And especially for me, I feel, in my community I belong to. Being minority ethnic person it gives you a different way of looking at everything, and then it's the first time in my life, and I find myself that I belong to somewhere, which is where I live in my community, and that's why I'm fighting against social cleansing or gentrification, whatever we call it, to stop that, because it's the best things in London. 21st century is a brilliant, diverse community I live in, and it's all around to London. Every estate, when we look at it, it is a brilliant community lives there, mostly diverse, black community and white working class people. That is the one of the things, and it is our homes. This is the last straw for me. We have to fight to keep our homes, because this country, it is disregarding the basic human rights, what people, having a home, just a home within the community, and they've gone too far, and it has to stop.
Sharon.
Oh, with Asen, Asen is involved in, the fighting for our community so well, and lots of people have been battling with her. They're fighting for their homes. As we know, we've already lost the Haygate, and how Southwark Council sold us down the river because Labour, in case anybody didn't know that, they're incredibly corrupt people. In case anybody in the pub thought it was a good idea to vote Labour, which I can't see anybody in that does, it's not.
JJ.
Well, yes, I've had a few vodkas now, so I'm a bit slow. But
it's typical class war, that.
I know. No, I've watched it. Well, I moved to Brixton in the early 80s, and it's a completely different town now to what it was then. And it breaks my heart, actually, when I go into Brixton. I'm like, what the fuck? Who's gone? Everyone's moved out. There's hardly anyone left. And I'm like, there isn't anyone left to make a stand even. I think the last thing, the Reclaim Brixton thing, when the Foxtons window went through, I was like, yes! Are we gonna fight it back? Are we gonna get it back? And it was like, we had a brief moment there, didn't we? We were all getting really excited, thinking, yes, everyone's gonna be out there. And a week later, no. Cressingham are still hanging on in there, thank God. Cressingham Gardens are hanging on in there. But,
after those kids rioted well, all around, wasn't it? But in Peckham, that was so funny because I walked up Meeting House Lane and the first thing I saw smashed up was the police station.
Exactly. These are the places we need to hit. And it was just,
the court stayed up all night to arrest those kids and really over sentenced them for, fucking nicking a company ice cream or whatever.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Get nicked for a bottle of water. What was it, a guy had? 3 years or something for a bottle of water?
Yes, it's because it's burglary.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
but you see,
enter as a trespasser
how...
with intent to commit theft, or you trespass and commit theft, depending on it's 91B or 91A.
So that's how they fuck us up every time, isn't it? Apart from being CTV'd to the max as well, And then if you've got your hood up, you're nicked. You're not allowed to walk into a shop.
I think we still know who you are.
No one purple block.
It is, I think, yeah. Oh, I don't know. I talk to my kids are not.
Yeah, I think our community is still somehow hanging there. We're still there, but the situation looks bad. I live in the most extreme circumstances imaginable, down in Aldgate, at the beginning of the classic East End. I live in Peabody Estate, which was built in 1875. We have countless thousands of homeless on the waiting list. Some say it's 15,000, some say it's 20,000. Within a 5-minute walk of where I live, at Lehman Street, Thomas More Street, they are building 5,000 luxury flats. The streets are now completely colonised with these people. I don't know if you've seen that film, They Live, but I don't need the glasses to see it, right? I can see it just by stepping out my front door, out of my estate, and there they are. They are the world's rich, the world's wealthy, and wealthy tourists. Thousands and thousands of them in what used to be once a classic working class area. Brick Lane, Cable Street, everything around there has been colonised. And these And these towers, they're going up all over London, all along the waterside, everywhere. And soon, they're beginning to link up as well. This is our fate unless we do something about it. As I say, we're just hanging in on our communities, but we have to fight back. Otherwise, we're just going to be like Indian reservations in the Wild West.
And why is everybody accepting a 0-hour contract as well? You know, like our good friends UBW have made so many battles about getting people London living wage. You know, like
got M&B down the road on Old Kent Road. M&B, you have the kids from school 6 months later, a couple months later, fucking working in there, but the jobs fucking
free fucking labour.
The kid who runs that M&B, it's Tesco's. It used to be Tesco's. You can see.
Yeah, well, I don't know, you could get 20 degrees now, and he'd still be on a...
And you sound about the elephant, it's going to be encroaching all the way down Old Kent Road with regeneration, and that where it gets launched is in Cannes, south of France. Where at Argos, you've got the fucking Argos there, they want to build a 40-storey tower block. There's a hotel going across the other side of the Tesco.
One thing though, if they don't sort out the Thames barrier, it's all going to get flooded anyway, so we'd be laughing.
No, we won't, because they live in the top floors, don't they? They live in these towers, these vivariums. That's where they live. They'll watch us drowning and the sewer floating and the sewage floating around in the water.
Well, I live in Sidcup. In fact,
must be rubbish.
I'm only on this panel as emergency replacement because they couldn't get anyone from Oxbridge, but I went to Durham, which is a bit of an Oxbridge failure university. So down in the suburbs, we know nothing of your suffering and don't give a fuck. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, Bexley Council tight-ass bastards, and there are working class people in Bexley, and they are fucking shat on in the same way as working class people are shat on the whole world over. And that's one of the things is that we have lost community power, and that's what we need to rebuild. There is this wonderful quote that the revolution is the cherry on the top of the riot icing that sits on the marzipan of organisation and is based on the stodgy cake of community and workplace organising. Yeah.
I missed that episode of Great British Bake Off, but never mind. Ian, did you want to say something? You have a question?
I think that we never realised the depth of the defeat of 1985 when both the miners and the inner city were beaten by Thatcher. Thatcher knew quite well that what she wanted to do is destroy the working class with a sense of itself as a class, or as Marx said, the class with a sense of itself as a separate actor from anything else. I don't, with their ideology of privatising everything, standing at football, attack-free festivals, gentrification of the front lines, council house selling, and that sort of deep effect nowhere as any sort of ideological or driven thing on the left or anarchism has been able to counter that whole sort of ideology, which still remains basically the common sense default ideology of a lot of the newspapers like the Daily Mail and so on, which pumps it into the working class. And we've still not come up with something, I hate to say it, because I was about to say a coherent narrative. We've never come up with a story to combat that, I don't think.
Okay, we've got one final question, which is, why do we take offence so easily these days?
Who's going to win the World Cup?
Oh, well, we'll come to that. We'll come to that one in a minute. Why do people take offence so easily these days?
What do you fucking mean? Well, I don't think that they take offence any more than they took offence before. What they do is they take offence at different things. That's what it is. They take offence at different things. That's all I've got to say about it.
Yeah. I don't understand the question.
Why do people take offence so easily?
Oh, is this about ID politics?
Could be. How do you want to interpret it?
Oh,
I didn't come up with it.
I don't take offence at anything. I'm too long in the tooth now. I don't know. Why do people take offence?
This is a fucking stupid question, isn't it?
Yeah.
What cunt came up with this?
I think it's the people are becoming very easily offensive because the era we live in, you know, the system is crumbling and nothing is working, and especially on housing, you know, the housing is the biggest issue in this country. We have to sort it out because, you know, it's not just social cleansing, it is a hidden homelessness. The many thousands people are living in the, you know, the bed and breakfast, those things, and people are on edge because everything, all the public sector has been cut. Those austerities, those cuts, making people really down, depressed, and they don't know where to, you know, to direct their anger, or, you know, that's why my interpretation is that, because, you know, you have to take your anger out in some way, and that's one of the way they try to deal with it. But all along, we need to, you know, to bring down this fucking system.
On a slightly different angle, I think that question might be referring to why people in the left are so having a go at each other, and my take on this is there is a combination of access to social media, which means that whereas 20 years ago all the people who'd sold out and given up on politics you never heard from ever again because they were too busy living their happy middle class lives, but now they can access our scene via Twitter and Facebook and whinge about what the people who are actually doing stuff are on to doing, and that is a big problem, because when I look at the social media, all the rows I seem to be having are people who are not doing their fuck all, and I could well do without the shit from the people who are doing fuck all. If they just shut up and get on with their lives and have sold out, well, fair enough. That always happens. But if you don't want to help, why don't you just get off the boat and leave the rest of us who want to try and carry on with stuff? And literally, Legal Defence and Monitoring Group that I've been part of for 20 years, we're having massive criticisms and rows at the moment. But I didn't see any of those people at court today where we had someone who spent 4 months in jail because they cracked a window when they were trying to open a squat. And so let's get on with the real politics and ditch that shit.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh, yes. All the empty homes that people aren't even living in London. Investments. Breaking
all the empty homes. Good plan.
Russian oligarchs and all the rest of it.
Yep.
Right,
cool. Oh, excellent. Cool.
Do you want to say something about the offence thing about David McCall's poster?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we've had someone in court today, haven't we?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Does anyone know what he's been sentenced to?
He's got, what's the name? 6 months. I found out 6 months, but he's still fighting.
He'll have an appeal.
Fight the fact that there's a poster that was subjected to a full...
Yeah, so our comrade David in Glasgow, is it Glasgow? There is an offence in Scotland to breach the peace, which traditionally meant anything that offended the Queen's lieges. Lieges. Yeah. And he's been done simply for putting up a class war poster.
It's the fuck off Tory cunts one.
Yes.
I had it on the 3rd floor of his tenement block. Somebody wandering by found it offensive.
Yeah. And it's... What more can you say? It is actually utterly ridiculous.
obviously, he's going to try to run an appeal against it. It could go all the way to Europe, unless, of course, the European Court will continue. There's plenty of cases still going. The royal wedding case from 2010, Kate's one, is still going to Europe. But yeah, that will continue. But yeah, well done to the guy, and we'll continue to support him.
Okay. Oh, I was going to say I've run out of questions, but let's have a comment.
On the question to Europe,
Mm-hmm.
what does it matter to working class people whether we stay or leave? Or is it just all shit or shite?
I absolutely hate Brexit, so you can talk. I just hate the word.
Yeah, it makes absolutely no difference to us whether we stay in or leave.
None at all.
I mean, there might be a slight difference, but we won't notice it as they trample all over us. It was a question about also, would we be better off going into the euro a few years ago, if you remember that one, or retaining the pound sterling and British coinage? To which my answer was, what difference does it make if you're going to be skint in euros or skint in pounds? What difference does it make? And for us, what difference does it make? I think that the country is going down the pan anyway. A lot of people think that, but for different reasons. But it is going down the pan. And whether we stay in Europe, whether it prevents it slightly less going down the pan, or it takes longer to go down the pan because we stay in Europe, I cannot say. But if we get out of Europe, we're definitely going down the pan quicker. We're going to have a nasty and more vicious sort of government and stuff in the papers. We see it already, but it was coming anyway. So no, it doesn't make any difference whether for working class people in particular, it makes absolutely no difference whether we remain or we stay. No difference whatsoever. It's a false argument.
Yeah, no difference. I don't think it matters who our oppressors are, really. They're all a bunch of cunts.
They're all a bunch of cunts. They're all a bunch of cunts. Fuck off, the lot of you. You're all a bunch of cunts.
Was that your answer to the question?
Yes.
Just wanted to
I didn't even know the mic was there.
I think for me, it's, you know, the somehow this giving the opportunity to improve, you know, the racism to grow up. Because, you know, when we leave and then when the other people comes, they are already under scrutiny. They are already, you know, because of them everything is happening to this country, their jobs. So that is gonna be grown up for the racism in that sense, and I think it should be remain in to be eliminate the racism, at least in that sense.
I heartily agree. It's not that it makes a big economic difference. It was a signal that was pro-racism. I'm not saying that all people who voted Brexit are racists, but all the racists voted for Brexit. Yes. And that's the big difficulty with this one, is that what we want is a spirit of international unity amongst the working class. And it really strikes me as quite fearful that in 1975, only 30 years after the Second World War, we got a 2/3 majority to actually go into a union with at least two countries that Britain was fighting in the war. People had managed to put away their prejudices and differences when they had actually lost family members in that war. And now this little England attitude that is something that is really quite frightening, because even though a lot of people are not directly affected by the European issue, it is a sign of the times that racism are on the rise, that prejudice is on the rise, that you are allowed to do things like that. So while the European Union is a fucking pile of shit, which is what we want is international working class unity.
Yes!
Yes.
After the Brexit vote increased, I don't know, 10-fold, 15, 20-fold, however much it increased, and still they left, and the anarchos denied it was anything to do with the vote. I mean, you know, come on.
Yes, the BBC more like the panel got a positive idea what we can do to fight this. Instead of this and going around in circles, I've got a positive plan to...
No, we're fucked.
But we are fighting back, we are doing direct action, and we are occupying places.
We fight the battles that we know we can win at class war because we're not very big. Like,
fighting this, don't let them walk over us.
Yeah. No, of course not.
Because the Labour Party is like, it's conservative, it's the same thing, it's a different colour.
Yes,
that's right.
That's what it is.
No, I mean, it's so much time, let's think something, take a positive step toward doing something.
Any more comments?
I don't know because I need a fan.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the end of the first ever working class question time. Whoa. And I'm sure future episodes will be just as slick.
Better than the telly.